So let's switch gears now and talk about the Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa governorship primary that will hold tomorrow of the APC. Yesterday, we saw the PDP conducts its primary in Imo and Bayelsa State, where Senator Samuel Anyanwu, the National Secretary of the PDP, emerged as the flag bearer of the party in Imo State, and Governor Dioye Diri's gotten a chance of first refusal, getting the ticket of his party to run for a second term in office for Bayelsa State. But APC will conduct their own primaries tomorrow in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa State. There's been some controversies, though. In fact, in Kogi State, there are those who went to court to challenge the delegates list that should be used for the primaries, in the sense that there are these controversies. Is it the indirect primary or direct primary? Don't forget, the President Buhari signed into law 3 modes of primaries: direct, indirect, and consensus. Those are the 3 options that are available. So let's speak with the APC's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Moka. Thank you so much. He's here with us in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you.
There seems to be some controversy here about your party and the mode of primaries. Is it settled? What have you agreed on?
Direct.
Direct for all the 3 states?
For all 3 states.
Explain to us direct, because a lot of people who are not familiar with what direct primaries is and what indirect is. Direct means that all comers are fair.
Yes, that all card-carrying members, registered members of the party in each of the wards of the state are eligible voters, are able to vote to elect the candidate of the party in the governorship election. Whereas in the indirect mode, you have these same members electing delegates, almost like an electoral college of party members, who then cast their vote to elect who becomes the candidate of the party in the state. So the direct mode involves everyone. So, there's some who think of it to be, more inclusive, more democratic, more participatory, that allows every party member to exercise a franchise to decide who flies the flag of the party and the state at the governorship election.
So that's good. What do you need to be able to participate in that?
Just your membership. You have to be a registered member, with your membership, card. And you must be on the membership register, because the panel that is assigned the duty of conducting the primary, is also provided a register of members in the state. So if you show up without your card, and without your name being on the register, unfortunately, you will not be able to, cast a vote. But if you come and your name is on the register and you have a card, that can be easily verified, and then you'll be accredited to participate in your ward, because the election takes place at the ward level, and then collated, and of course, further collated at the state to determine the winner of that election.
There are those who say they suspect mischief here. When did the information about this primary get out?
About the mode of
primaries?
We've issued letters as far back as the 5th of, actually sometime last month, if I'm not mistaken,
about
one or two of the
about
states.
The direct primary? Because your party's members were still talking about indirect primary as of 3, 4, 5 days ago.
In Kogi, with respect to Bayelsa, it's always been, settled that it will be, direct primaries. Now, in Kogi, initially, the decision was to do the indirect primary mode. But, after all of the delegate election was conducted, there were some who were not satisfied with the way that came out. So some of the complaints and the, controversy around that, caused the party to, rethink that decision. To say, what, rather than have these delegates who are like, if you will, agents of the party members, go select, let the party members actually go. So we made that determination before that decision came down, by the court, nullifying that mode because of some of the complaints and the litigation that occurred in the court over the outcome and the process.
Yeah, because of the congresses in some of
in Kogi, especially
in Kogi State.
Yes, Kogi,
so now that has been kicked out. There won't be delegate list. I mean, there won't be delegate list for the indirect primaries. So, but there will also be, because delegate list for the direct primaries is the registration of the party. The registration, the register.
The party register.
Party register.
Yes.
That is what you are going to be using.
Correct.
So in Kogi, it is now settled, and communication has been given to the party in that
party,
state.
to party and to INEC, yes.
No, let's take it one after the other. Now, the court case in that, because it was an order, actually,
Correct.
initially, to say, hold on, don't go ahead with the primaries, don't use the delegate list. That's what the court held.
Correct.
But that is of no effect. It's not relevant any longer for this exercise. Let's go to Imo, and let's begin with Imo and that process, and we'll take it one after the other. In Imo, there is only one candidate, isn't it?
Correct.
So you have given the governor there a chance of first refusal.
Well, yes. Technically, yes. But, you know, in Imo, we didn't have other aspirants who indicated interest to run. If they were, they will be on the ballot for the primary. So the incumbent governor, Governor Hope Uzodimma, is the sole aspirant for that position in Imo for our party. So, but nevertheless, the constitution of the party and the Electoral Act must also be satisfied in terms of the process. The people must be afforded the opportunity to formally, elect him as the candidate. So even though he's the sole aspirant, we're still proceeding with the full process to formalize his, election by the, party members, through a direct primary in Imo.
So, I mean, it's not as though, did the party make an announcement as it's expected for the primaries in Imo?
I mean, everyone in Imo, all party, structures and, leaders and, stakeholders in Imo are fully aware. I mean, this has been on for a while. They are aware that this primary is taking place tomorrow and that, we're using the direct primary mode. That was communicated not just to the party in Imo, but also to INEC. So I think that I'm not sure there's anyone who is in any kind of doubt as to the nature or the process we have adopted for the primaries in Imo.
Let's go to Bayelsa State. How many candidates are there?
In Bayelsa, I think they're probably about 6 or slightly, about 6. Maybe more or less. But
is David Lyon on the ballot?
David Lyon is on the ballot, yes, he's an aspirant.
I mean, are you listening or hearing what people are saying about your party in Bayelsa State in respect of if you gave an Hope Uzodimma a chance of first refusal, why didn't you give that kind of reference to David Lyon?
Well, David Lyon in the last election won that election, as we all know. He won the election, he did very well.
So he's being regarded by some of your party members as a governor-elect. Governor-elect. Because as far as they know, they felt they did their work, they won the election, but on technical grounds, that mandate was not meant to be.
Correct.
So they believe, as far as they are concerned, they have a governor in their party. So that is a premise.
Correct. There's some who hold that view, and justifiably so. I mean, he contested the election, he won, and the majority vote that he scored was never challenged or disputed. So the fact that he's not governor, he was not inaugurated as governor, was not because there was any question mark on his victory. He won that election free and clear. But unfortunately, like you said, some technical issues with the fellow who ran as the deputy governor, warranted the court's order that, deprived him of the fruit of that success. So there are many in Bayelsa who have a lot of, feeling, because they voted. They're the Nigerians, an electorate who went out there to cast their vote on his behalf. So, to them, their vote, whether irrespective of what happens at the court or what happened at the court, they spoke loud and clear, and they stand by that. Now that, a time has come again for that election, we're hoping that as citizens, they're free to go to the primaries, for those of them who are members of the party, to, support him if that's their preference still, or support any one of the other aspirants in the race. And what we are trying to do as a party is that it was just yesterday we dispatched the panel to go to Bayelsa to conduct that activity. And we handed them very clear-cut mandate to go there and, uphold the highest standards of transparency and, fairness. And we here in Abuja, we are watching that process very closely. And we will absolutely not accept anything that is less than stellar, that's less than just, completely transparent and upright.
So would you say justice has been served in Bayelsa State in the case of David Lyon? Is it fair what your party has done to him?
It was not fair what happened. The fact that, even though he did nothing, that he was, victimized by that decision. But that's the nature of the law. Sometimes you caught it that well.
Mr. Moka, there are those who I've heard and I've read largely the criticism and the debate about David Lyon and the processes in Bayelsa State, that for whatever is worth, the young man should be compensated within your political party. This is not a general politics now. This is an internal party politics that some of us are poking into. And say, look, is it fair the way your party had treated him?
I am not...
if it's not fair, just say it's not fair.
Look at the other side.
Okay.
Now, if this was up to individuals, I'm quite sure that the sentiments are with, David Lyon. But, when you have laws that govern a process, when you have, the Electoral Act, you have the party's constitution, you have the, federal constitution of Nigeria at play, when people insist they want a competitive, fair, transparent process and invoke provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act, you can't ban it. You can't just, shove it aside.
No, I know that people have their constitutional right and they could invoke it anytime they want, especially their franchise. Every citizen of Nigeria, as long as you have age, you can be able to invoke that. But the question is a manner of convention. And look at the fact remains that where there seems to be injustice, there's definitely going to be conflict. And so that is the issue that it is the members of your party who are raising this anyways.
No, absolutely.
I was saying,
I know.
It's perhaps unfair to the young man if the party had not addressed the matter, called him to the table and said, we're giving you a chance of first refusal. And every stakeholder in Bayelsa State, we're giving this man a chance of first refusal. But if anybody opposed to that, they should say. But that's what didn't happen. That is where they brought your party, that there was lack of capacity and leadership in that regard.
Well, that may be a fair comment from the perspective of those who make those comments. But, when you're on the inside and you are considering the fullness of the representations on the table as the NWC, and people saying, listen, yes, an election was hard. We all worked hard for that election. And, David Lyon won the election. Like I said, if you take a barometer and you measure the levels of sympathy for David Lyon, yes, even amongst, the leadership of the party, there are many who have enormous sympathy for his situation. But, at the end of the day, you cannot use sympathy to, upstage legality and due process. Once the law is involved, every other consideration pales into insignificance. And so when you are making decisions formally, and there's the law that says, if Peter is applying, you give them a chance to compete. And, when you have that, sometimes, no matter the strength of your sentiment, you yield to the law. Because if you don't, the judges will not be governed by sentiments if the matter goes to court ultimately, in a legal challenge.
No, but the issue that raised, and I don't just want us to drag it for too long, is the political intervention of your party. And we know sometimes when, the issue of litigation or whatever will not even come into play if you play politics right.
Correct.
And you have some big wigs
Correct.
and the fray.
That's right.
The Minister of State for Petroleum resigned because of this.
Correct.
He has governed the state, one-time governor,
Correct.
Timmy Persiva. He's going to be on the ballot. That's going to be an intense race.
No, it would be an intense race. You know, when we started, I said something. I said, look, that we dispatched this panel yesterday, handed them, very clear, guidelines and mandate to say that we expect the panel to conduct the primaries in Bayelsa with the, highest possible standards, highest attainable standards of fairness, of, transparency and objectivity. And we're going to be watching very closely. We will not permit, because of some of the, points you made, Shane, the questions you asked, we are especially, I think, interested in that process and the outcome of that process. So, we're watching very closely, and hopefully the right thing will be done. And whoever the people of Bayelsa decide will be their flag bearer will emerge out of this, primary.
It's going to be interesting, and perhaps we've seen a replay of what happened in the past in this race. If David Lyon wins the ticket, it might be up against Doye Diri that he ran against the last time. If Timmy Persiva gets the ticket, he'll be running against an incumbent, and he's done that before. He ran against Governor Dixon when Governor Dixon was in office. So it will be a replay of a possible, of a similar scenario that's played out. And I'm looking at some other persons that have been in that race. There is a woman in the race, and Heineken Lokobiri, also a former Minister of Agriculture, is also in the race. So there are no pushovers. There are no pushovers in this race. Heineken and Timmy Persiva had gone head-to-head before to get the ticket of the party. But here we go. It's going to be an interesting race. But again, the question is, your party did not perform in Bayelsa and even in the South-South and in the presidential election. And for those who infer that is a rejection of your party in that region, do you have any fear whatsoever?
No, we have no fear at all. In the last election, I think that, we won that election clearly.
I'm talking about recent election. No, the election you're talking about was 4 years ago.
There's a difference between presidential election and the local elections. Mm-hmm. This is a state, contest. And usually, sometimes sentiments for national elections are quite, different in some states.
But there were local elections there too. The constituency elections were there. House of Assembly elections. How many seats did your party get?
No.
Those who say by the numbers, it's fact your party was rejected. Simple and fair.
The governorship election in any state is a unique election. And in the last contest with the current governor, he didn't win the election. He simply became governor by happenstance, by the circumstance of the
force of law,
by the force of law of the decision of the Supreme Court. So he didn't win that election, and he contested against one of the aspirants in this election. So if this party defeated him at that time, he has done nothing on record that even suggests that he has the possibility of prevailing against the party this time. So, I think that we shouldn't just measure, because, federal elections, national elections, and some of the, key actors sometimes are determinants of even the mood, the sentiments of the local electorate.
But the mood is, you know how things have gone. You could rightly say, and when we say so, because politics is science, there are some things that you can say for sure, and there are some things that you cannot authoritatively say. But if it comes to the issue of numbers and it comes to the issue of science in politics, you can, of course, read. It is given that Bayelsa is PDP over the years. It's been governed by PDP governors.
Until the last election.
No, APC never governed.
We won it.
No, but you never governed.
We won the election.
But you never governed.
We didn't, because the Supreme Court intervened.
But you never governed.
No, we didn't govern.
It's a fact that you have APC.
We won the majority votes.
Never governed Bayelsa.
That is true.
Yes.
But but you must put side by side with that.
No sentiment. You are
we
a liar, Mr. Moka.
We won the last election.
The facts are facts. You never governed. No, I agree with you. You won the election.
Fantastic.
But you never governed.
That's all I need to hear.
That is
I agree.
Isn't it fact?
We can agree on that.
APC have governed Nigeria since 2015. Fact. Isn't it?
Correct.
Bayelsa have been governed by PDP since 1999. Fact. So it's been a PDP state.
But you must qualify that.
Hold on.
Yes.
Isn't it? It's been a PDP state. So let's move on. And I will say that things are unfolding,
yes,
of course, and the latest election, the scores have shown that PDP has held sway. And we know that incumbency is a major factor in any election. That's why I asked,
absolutely,
when it comes to the APC, the South-South, your members have not come to the table.
You know, look, all I'm trying to say, I'm not disputing the facts as you lay it out. You know, I mean, who quarrels with facts? Facts are facts. But I'm saying that the people of Bayelsa were well aware that the PDP has held sway, but they've been hegemonic, basically, in Bayelsa. But the people went out there in the last governorship election, about 4 years ago, and actually elected David Lyon as their governor. Now, but for what transpired in the law courts, David Lyon would have governed Bayelsa for nearly 4 years before this current season of a fresh election. So all I'm saying is that the people of Bayelsa who voted David Lyon are still in Bayelsa, and we are hoping and confident that they are on standby to actually take that mandate from the PDP and hand it to the All Progressives Congress in that state. That's our hope. That's exactly what we're prepared to work for.
Are you prepared? Are you prepared for the possible fallout in the Kogi scenario? There's been a huge talk about zoning, and it's really not been going well for the stakeholders who believe that it can only be fair if Kogi West people of the state have a shot at leading the state. Has your party held a stakeholders meeting in that respect? We
have held, quite a lot of engagements, at all levels in Kogi. But one thing I tell people about our democracy and any democracy is that when people are determined to vie for office and you do not have anything in the law or in the party's constitution to exclude them, legitimately, you can do that. You can try to persuade them. You can play all of those politics to try to, persuade people and convince people about what might be, in the best interest of the state. But once individuals who have expressed interests and who have met the requirements, if they object to any of those kinds of, extraordinary arrangements, you are required as a party to, follow the law and allow for, the process. We had that with our presidential primary, if you remember. We had issues with that. And then we went to the field. And then, the party members made a decision. And today, we have our national elections gone, come and gone. And, we have a president-elect. So once, people, are unwilling to submit to all of these, negotiated sort of outcomes, then the party, our party prefers, to simply go with the law and allow everyone to play. All we now do is to ensure that there's, fairness and there's, a level playing field. And that's why, at the end of the day, because of all of the, issues around the indirect system, we now, decided to go with the, direct primaries. Because that's
that was in consultation with Governor Yaya Bello.
It was, yes, with the governor and with,
He's not going to be on the ballot this time around.
He's not on the ballot, yes.
But he determines a whole lot of
things. He's an incumbent governor. He's a major stakeholder.
Leader of the party.
He's the leader of the party and he's a major stakeholder.
Did he agree
and he's someone who has done an enormous amount of work.
Did he agree to zoning? Did he agree to zoning?
Look, Governor Bello is a Democrat. When this issue of direct primaries came along as a way out, as a way to, meet the interests and the expectations of everybody, the governor in his, again, very, rather magnanimous, posture, conceded to that. He agreed, even though initially they had decided on the indirect system. But when the party came along with this, case that, look, to make sure that everybody feels like they've been given a level playing field, he considered that.
Let's take a break, Mr. Moka. But when we come back, Nigerians are asking, where is your presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu? In fact, they're also asking, members of your party are saying, where is your national chairman? He seems not to be around. You'll be telling us all of that when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Felix Moka is the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. He's been speaking with us on the internal running of the APC ahead of tomorrow's primary, tripartite primaries ahead of the governorship election scheduled for the 11th of November 2023 in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. Thank you so much, Mr. Moka.
Thank you.
Where is your presidential candidate?
Traveling.
Where?
Traveling in Europe.
Is he all right?
He's fine. He's fine. He's, you know, after the election and all of the energy expended and the time, you know, he just decided to take a moment of rest because, you know, once he returns and is inaugurated on May 29th, there will be no dulling. He will be, you know, saddled with the responsibility of running a country as massive and as, you know, complex as Nigeria. You know, I think after, you know, nearly a year plus of just being on the road, of being on his toes, you know, moving around the country, campaigning, I think he deserved a moment to just, you know, some time out to rest and prepare for this massive assignment which Nigerians have handed him and which he's, you know, prepared to take very seriously, you know, to govern this country. So yes, he's out there, you know, just getting some rest, and will return very shortly. I know he'll be back in the country, you know, very, very shortly.
There are a lot of speculations whether this is a medical rest or this is just a normal rest, and why that is happening in Europe.
Well, it's a normal rest. You know, look, Seun, you and I know, even at, I mean, you just finished speaking with the honorable member who is, you know, aspiring to be Speaker of the Federal House. You know, she can tell you for free that there's no such thing as, you know, an easy time here in the country. Because, you know, he is the president-elect. As you know, there are many people, hundreds, if not thousands of people who are looking to see him for one thing or the other. I mean, this is the lobby season, if you will, for, you know, the new government that's about to be formed. So, you know, if he's here, I doubt that he'll be able to actually get the kind of rest that he deserves because of the, you know, pressure and the, you know, the sort of, you know, people, the crowd of people who would want his attention for one thing or the other. And he can't refuse all of them, you know, without, again, offending everybody. But when he's not in the country and he's just taking a few days of rest, I think that that's deserved.
But you are aware that it's not just Bola Tinubu as a citizen. It's now a public, attention of the public is now, he is asked for that job, and Nigerians will be looking out for him wherever he goes.
Absolutely.
The question is how so comfortable it is for him to just be in Europe, and he's been there for a while. I mean, those who have said, look, and there's a lot of criticism on his decision to be in Europe anyways, to say, look, I mean, those critics have said, maybe there are some questions about his state of health, and they say, oh, we said it, that really this is the situation. And would they need some convincing to about the present or the situation of your candidates traveling?
See,
or the president-elect traveling?
If the president-elect, you know, were in Nigeria, if he was here in the country and was not seen in public, you know, no appearances on the media, the same speculation will happen.
I'm not sure. Still, no, are you sure about that?
No, I'm certain. People, you know, if he was here,
which one is more comfortable than the fact that he's abroad taking medical treatment, and the fact that he's at home, he doesn't want to see anybody?
Look, if the president-elect, you know, was unwell and he was in the country taking medical treatment, he will still be out of sight and maybe not making public appearances. But the fact is that, you know, you've seen pictures and videos of him taking walks. I mean, his strides didn't appear to be anyone who is bedridden or who is, you know, in bed, you know, convalescing. No, he is well. And he is taking a rest. You know, I have campaigned.
Do you blame Nigerians who are skeptical.
No. I don't blame Nigerians.
We have a past.
I'm not one of those who blame Nigerians for anything. I don't blame Nigerians.
There was a time that Nigerians were told that the president at the time was paying squash.
See, look.
So there is a background to it when Nigerians become critical of the well-being of their leaders. And perhaps another question would then be the preparation to take over office.
He's where he is, he's preparing intensely. I'm aware of that. All of those who are necessary, and relevant to his preparation have access to him, whether digitally or physically. And he's working where he is, even though he's resting, but he's, making preparations for the job ahead.
Mr. Moka, I know you are a reputation manager for your party, but you know what the optics are at the moment. How convenient for political leaders to rest out of their country. They found it more restful to be outside of their country that they are proposing to lead than to be in the country that they want to shape.
No, that would not be a fair assessment.
No, I'm asking you as a question.
No, I understand that. Nigerians who say that leaders shouldn't go outside the country, on a holiday or to rest or to take time off to, be outside the country, I think that's actually
But your members have criticized Atiku Abubakar, for example, for staying in Dubai.
He lives in Dubai. He's not out there on a rest. He lives there. So he's resident in Dubai.
So that's what I'm saying, that the optics, does it favor your candidate for being at the first time, easily being outside of the country to take a rest?
No, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president-elect, does not live outside the country. He lives in Nigeria. Everyone knows that. He simply took a trip for a little while to... And when I say rest, it doesn't mean, it's a working rest. Because, even in his rest, he is also taking the time to reach out to, heads of governments and other levels of leadership of other countries that are vital to the agenda that he's, bringing, in his, new government. So, he's there doesn't mean he's just, sleeping in his bed. He's also, in meetings regularly with all kinds of people who are traveling from other countries to see him preparatory to his inauguration. So, it's a working visit. And at the end of the day...
So just be aware, Mr. Moka,
yes,
that Nigerians are critical. Nigerians in this age and time are different from the Nigerians of 10 years ago. They are more critical now. They're more interested in policy and governance issue. Yes, I think so, and I know so.
No,
the figures say so. There's more participation in our politics issues. So now things are a bit more different. And so they will ask questions about the leaders, those who want to govern them, those who request, those who say they want to lead this country. And they need to answer to Nigerians.
And they're justified. Every Nigerian who asks tough questions about leaders and asks for justification, they are absolutely, within their rights as Nigerians to do so. Look, all I'm saying is that this, president-elect, by everything he has done throughout all of the campaigns, he didn't, I think, shirk in his, duty to, do what he needed to do as, a candidate. Now that he's, been elected, between his election and inauguration, it's about the only time that he's going to have to do anything, to go anywhere as, a citizen. You and I, we take holidays. Sometimes we decide to go to Calabar or go to Ekiti. But sometimes also, we decide to actually, get on the plane.
So he's been out since the 22nd of March this year.
He's entitled to that rest.
Yeah, he's been out since 22nd of March for this rest you're talking about.
And I said, was my birthday, by the way. You just happy birthday too.
Happy birthday.
So, today's the 13th.
So I was going to say that, do you know what the optics will be, for example, if you hear that the president-elect is in Yankari resting, or he's in Nkogozi resting? Do you know what the optics will be?
No, I don't rule that out. I don't put that behind him. He has 4-year term.
So and nobody is holding grudge, having any grudge against anybody leaving the country to do any business. But the question is, if you say you want to lead Nigeria,
yes,
you must also love Nigeria.
You must. No, he loves Nigeria.
And I don't question that. But
yes,
the point is that we need to show it.
He's showing it, and he will show it.
Right.
But that does also not mean that because he's president-elect or because he's president, he will never go after
So tell your president,
But that's also,
tell him that Nigerians are asking. He should show,
he knows.
He's now a president-elect. He's no longer your candidate.
I know, he knows.
Where's your party chairman?
The party chairman is also, he's
taking rest.
A little time to travel. He's taking time to travel. And he's a citizen. He's entitled to.
I'm not about that.
Freedom of movement,
Felix Smoker is the national publicity secretary of the APC.
Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.